Mike, I'm just...
Hey, it's the podcast guy.
Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast.
And there it is! Sutton United of the GM Vauxhall Conference have put out First Division Coventry City, winners of the FA Cup themselves less than 2 years ago. And what a moment to enjoy for the fans of this Surrey side. They've had their moments before, but never one like this. But the whistle goes now. Delight for Sutton United. Sutton United from the National League are through to the last 16 of the FA Cup. No longer English football's perennial non-league club. A 123-year crescendo reaches a new peak for Sutton United, who are promoted to the Football League for the first time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. There is a few guests with me today and I'm going to introduce them all, although one of them has already managed to drop out of the conversation. So firstly, we're going to go with Jared. Hello, Jared. Are you all right?
It's like you lost more than one.
So that's marvellous. Yeah.
It's a good start.
Yeah. Dan is here. Dan's awake this time. Hello, Dan.
How you doing, mate?
Oh, very well. Don't wave. It's an audio thing.
No, people might be watching live. What?
They might well be. Might be. Jared, hello. Yes, we can hear you now. Paul, hello. How are you?
Hi, Mike. Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Very, very well, thank you.
Good. Hi, everyone.
And gift guy Alex. Sorry, not gift guy Alex.
Unbelievable. I'll wave and say hello to my audio and visual mediums. Hi, Mike. You're right.
Yes, very well, thank you. And possibly going to join us back again will be Claire in a moment. We'll find out. But obviously, we're live on all the usual channels: Facebook, Twitter, the other one, YouTube. That's it. I knew what I was talking about. So, yes, another episode, last episode of this season. We're going to do a very quick season review. Talk about various different things. Hopefully, Jared's with us because there's breaking news I wanted to have his opinion on. We've just seen, just before we came on air, it was told him that Steve McKim has now gone to Carshalton. So, Jared, are you here with your thoughts on that? No, that worked well. This is marvellous. He did say...
Seamless.
Yeah. He did say, what was the exact quote? I can't remember. It's a good job for him, but I hope he fails. So...
Pretty fair.
Yeah. So, we're going to try and do a review of the season. I think that's Jared trying to join in. I'm not sure it's going to work, Jared. Yeah, it's going to. So, what we'll try and do is a little bit of how we were feeling at the start of the season. Obviously, we've got wonderful hindsight, and we know what's happened. I just looked it up. Those first few games where we were struggling seemed to last forever. But did anyone know how many games it actually was? Because it seemed to last a long, long time.
Was it 4 or 5 before we got the first win?
It was 5. It seemed like we were never going to get a win ever, but it was literally including the League Cup match. It was just 5 games, and they were all close. But how were we feeling at the time? Were we still hopeful, or did we really think that now we're up against it for the season?
I was terrified. I don't know about anyone else. I was just, bookies' favourites to go down, and looking at some of the results, they were all right. We had some draws, I think, away at Salford and away at Scunthorpe, and we weren't able to play home matches for a while, were we, because of the stuff that was still going on with the pitch and the ground. So there were mitigating factors, but equally, 5 games without a win is not how you want to start your season when you're potentially in a relegation battle. It sounds stupid to say now, but at the time, I was terrified.
Yeah, there were some good performances in there, wasn't there? Though there were some good performances, but a couple of those, the way we lost, how we couldn't close the game off. I think there was a couple in there that we lost in the last minute, didn't it? And it was like, oh, okay,
Oldham at home.
Welcome to the big league, boys. But so the start was a little ominous, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the Oldham at home one was a really difficult one to take. We should have had our first win, but I think I've said loads of times we had our little moment of panic. or 5 minutes of panic. Claire's with us. Hello, Claire.
Hello, sorry,
It's all right.
my IT failed me.
You should get down onto it. Anyway,
He doesn't care.
we were just saying, how were you feeling at the start of the season with the start we had? With it was literally only 5 games, but it seemed to go on forever.
Yeah, it did feel like a bit of a slug. Yeah, I came in towards the end of what Alex is saying, and I was like, oh, okay, this isn't quite how I envisaged it happening. And as you full well know, big pessimist over here. So I was like, oh, this isn't good. This is exactly what people kind of are expecting of us. But I mean, it didn't last very long, did it? Which was good. But yeah, it was a shaky start. And now if you look at it, you think about those kind of dropped points at the beginning of the season, how handy they would have been at the end. But que sera and all that.
Yeah, exactly. I did very much look at some of those points thinking, oh yeah, a draw against Scunthorpe would have been different if we hadn't drawn that. But it is what it is. We did learn quite quickly eventually, and then we started with a bit more professionalism, or as Dan is very keen to say very often in his pages, the shithousery. We learned how to do it properly.
It's just levels, isn't it? You just had to learn to. I think that's the main difference between League Two and the National League. There's just that little bit of incisiveness. People take chances better, and you've got people punish mistakes just that fraction harder. And that's what that's all the first 5 games were.
Now some game management as well. Yeah. It's such a big part of it in league football, I think.
Yeah. The pros say it's a speed of thought as well, don't they? They just say everything's a bit, the speed of the thought on the pitch is quicker.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was, once we got the first point away at Salford, the way we defended that day, and we should have nicked the game as well. It was a case of it's coming. The first win's just around the corner. And, once we get one, we'll be fine, and we'll get a couple on back to back, and that's the way it went in the end. It was just settling in. I think just trying to settle in with new surroundings, really.
Yeah, and then the sort of almost turning point and belief came in everyone's favourite competition from the start. We all love the Pizza Cup.
You're right, there, Mike.
Making you emotional, Mike, just talking about it.
He's just literally choked up.
Or he can't believe his lies and fabrication.
Yes, finally, it just caught there, didn't it? That bit about it being everyone's favourite, Mike.
Yeah. We all love the Pizza Cup from the start. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. But yeah, that kind of like they realised that hang on, we're here to win games, and we did go on this just great run afterwards. I can't remember all the details because I'm not like that, but I do remember there's quite a few games before we lost again, including possibly a lot of people's highlight game when we beat Port Vale at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was proper classic, that one. It was certainly one of the highlights of the season anyway, from a league perspective.
Yeah, it was definitely a very fun game. We went 2-0 down. I've said lots of times I put a couple of pennies on us to win that game, which I never thought I'd see again. I bottled it and cashed out at 3-3, but still. But any other sort of highlights from early on in that season, in the season for you guys? Obviously, Pizza Cup. We all know how great that was.
Always loved it.
Yeah.
Best competition ever.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so as we sort of slogged on, we started getting to that silly heady stage of we were up there throughout the season. And then another brilliant thing, we qualified for the first round of the FA Cup without doing anything, which is odd for us as well. As an enjoyable experience to go somewhere going, hey, we're the big boys. How did we all enjoy that?
Yeah, unfamiliar territory. It's great, isn't it? It's not having to deal with the qualifying stress.
It was a bit of a weird day, though, being the league side at a non-league team, having been the other way around for so long. It was just odd. Just a bit of an odd day. Didn't help that it was a crap game as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I was bricking it going into Hazelway just because I thought, just because we've done it so often to our league clubs when we were non-league, that we were going to get done over. So it was a nice relief when we were Randall score, to be honest. But yeah, it was a crap game in an awful ground, but still, wins.
Absolutely, yeah, and put us into the next round as well, which, yeah, we met one of our favourite teams in the next round, didn't we? Who they seem to have a hex on us, so I'm so glad we're not playing them next year.
They were so, magnanimous about it as well.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a couple of teams we've played and we haven't played very well both times, and they just think we're absolutely rubbish, and they just don't understand how we came 8th, or people are lauding us as one of the teams of the season.
Walsall must be one of those.
Walsall's one of those.
How did we lose 1-0 twice to Walsall?
Yeah.
In fairness, some of the people wondering how we've come 8th in the season are sitting around on this call as well.
Oh, yeah, true.
Yeah,
very true.
There was one episode that I was fairly convinced it was just going to be me and Claire cackling and laughing and shaking our head because it was just utterly ridiculous. Because we were even in the automatic zone for quite a well. I think if we look back, it's probably 1 or 2 games, but it seemed like quite a long time.
It felt like forever. Absolutely felt like forever. And there's these moments where, like, you'd be doing really absurd, like, just normal day things, and then you'd have this moment of like, hang on, we're 3rd. like this is obscene. This should not be allowed to happen. And I got quite cocky at that point. And Dan will tell you, I just kept being like, we're just going straight up. We're going straight up. Every time we talked about it, I was like, yep, we don't need to worry about the playoffs. I think at Christmas, a group of us went for like kind of Christmas drinks between Christmas and New Year's, and we were sitting around talking about, when are the playoff dates, because we could do something after the playoffs. I was like, why do we care when the playoffs are? We're going straight up.
I thought you were a pessimist, Claire.
But I got unnecessarily cocky, which is very unlikely.
What Sutton team did to us all season.
I'd also been drinking quite a lot, so that
helps. That helps.
Isn't that called Ebbs fleeting it?
Not quite.
I bought my son one of those magnetic league ladders part of his Christmas, and so we were playing around with that all year. And I think there was that point where Sutton were 3rd on it, and I think we were spending half of Sunday just staring at this magnetic league ladder, going, "Look where we are."
And you didn't notice that Sutton were in red and white.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I was going to complain, but it was $9.99. Obviously done on the cheap.
Yeah.
Sounds like Mike bought the same thing and was disappointed.
No. But then we kept it up. Then we sort of went through and kept going through this wonderful trophy that we just love. There was the amazing game against Stevenage, which was even duller than some of the games you've mentioned so far. It was shockingly bad, but we managed to win that on penalties with Dino making a couple of great saves on the penalty shootout. We'll just flick through loads of more, and then I think a lot of people's highlight then was Wigan, which was a really, really strange whole experience. I know, Dan, you were there. I know, Claire, you were there. Alex, were you there?
No, I couldn't get out of it because of work, but watching it was just, surreal, completely surreal.
Yeah. Actually, it would be in one of my top 5, and I wasn't even there. I was watching it on the TV.
Yeah, agreed.
Me and my son rolling around the floor, delirious, was after that penalty save. It was just, it's great fun. What performance.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jared, I know you were there. We can't see you, but you can hear us. What were your thoughts on the day?
It was weird. Like when I lived in Manchester, I went to watch Wigan in the Premier League. So we've sort of seen it a couple of times as a Premier League club. So that was kind of weird seeing us play them. I just remember watching the penalties, and I think my legs started to buckle. I was so nervous, so I had to sit down through the penalties. But it was amazing, and just perhaps one of my moments of the season was Dean Buzanis taking a penalty. I've always wanted to see a goalkeeper score for Sutton, and so far, I've seen keepers score against us, unfortunately, but I've never seen a keeper score. That's close I got to see a keeper score for Sutton, so that was a nice special moment. But
you're so confident as well.
Yeah,
amazing arrogance, but brilliant arrogance. Just rock up and it's so good.
Yeah,
right. I'm going to say what else he did. I'm not sure everyone caught. I know, Dan, I should send you the video, but I haven't. I didn't.
Claire was one who showed me first.
Pure shit housing. This is what they did.
We come back to shit housing. That was probably one of the best ones of the season, actually.
So I didn't share it because I'm like, no, I'm not doing that just in case. But Dean, in between, I can't remember if it's the first or the second penalty, but as he was waiting, he noticed the opposition's water bottle, which had all his notes on Sutton's penalty takers, and it was then promptly destroyed. It wasn't just accidentally stepped on; it was picked up and ripped to shreds.
What a guy! I did not know that. That is brilliant.
Like, you have to look at the video, Alex, because it's great. It's just
please
before,
show me that.
Just before Harry takes his penalty, and he walks over and he looks at it, and he sees this thing stuck on the side, and just picks it up, rips it off, throws it up, and just chucks it off. And then for the rest
I didn't think I could love that guy anymore. That is amazing.
If you watch our celebrations, you can just see their goalkeeper going off at the ref about it happening.
Yeah, that was the moment that made it for me, was their goalkeeper having a moment ref about it. It's like, mate, if you're gonna try and do it and expect something to come back at you, it's just brilliant. Like, just couldn't love that guy anymore. You know,
before the final, John Jobs, the analyst, had asked for that videos and stuff. I think it was just do a little get them all going type thing. So I'd sent him some videos and I said, "Oh, there's this one as well, ha ha ha." And he's like, "Yeah, send me the video of that." And I was like, "No, not if he's going to get in trouble." He went, "Mike, he's going to get a standing ovation." I was like, yeah, but yeah, beautiful little moment. And I'm not entirely sure it affected the outcome, but hey, whatever. If it did or it did or it didn't. But yeah, the whole thing at Wigan, all their fans were really, really nice. The podcast fella that I went on to, who's been really nice as well. He's already sent me links for the clubs that have come down. He said, "Oh, here's some really nice contacts to jump on for next year." I was like, "Oh, that's nice." So we made lots of friends up there, so that's good. Then obviously league form suffered a little bit at that point.
Just injuries,
hard luck with injuries. I know everyone gets them, but we were really affected in just key areas of the pitch. Centre back, centre mid in particular. It's pretty unlucky for those areas to both go at the same time.
And it was always a case we'd get someone back and then we'd get another one. So just as you get someone fit, or we were having to throw like Kobe in after 2 months out straight in at Bristol Rovers. And it's just games like that. That's where I think the points were seriously lost. Sort of towards the end of the season.
Away as well.
Yeah.
There was something in there for us. I agree with everyone. There was injury. I mean, that was so unlucky, wasn't it? But there's something in there for us, I think, about playing that January transfer window. I'm not sure that we knew how to play it particularly. It's all quite new to us and stuff like that. So maybe next year playing that a little cannier would help. But
I mean, with the January transfer window, also was a bit of a gamble for us. Was going into January, our squad was settled. Throughout January, it wasn't until February started. It wasn't until literally the week after the window closed that we started getting all these injuries. So you get, if you shoot in January, like, oh, the squad's settled, you don't want to bring anyone in who might unsettle the squad, and suddenly, it's like, oh, we do need people now. Oh, it's too late, the window's closed. So it's one of those gamble things, but it's just unfortunate it all happened when it did. But I mean, Swindon away was the worst for me. Like when they was named Dundo on the bench, had been Adam Lovett back in from load from Tunbridge, and we still could have got a point from the house. We're quite lucky not to get a point at Swindon. That's points at that, and that 2 point swing would have been us in the playoffs and them out of the playoffs. So it's by margins, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean the January, I did, as you said, Paul, we're not used to it. We don't know how to do it, but I did notice a lot of clubs around us and a lot of clubs, especially at the bottom of the table, suddenly they're bringing in loads and loads of players and kind of refreshing the whole squad almost.
Yeah, I think. I mean, Port Vale was one of those, and that lifted them from mid-table into the playoffs, didn't it? So,
I think the average of all the sides in the top 7, I think, was about 5 new signings. I mean, Bristol Rovers brought in about 6 or 7 lads.
Yeah,
and they went, didn't they?
Yeah. As you say, that we've talked about many times, haven't we? The vibe in the club and the togetherness, and what bringing in loan players. How does that affect a changing room? Tricky business, isn't it? I can imagine for a management team. So
absolutely, because our only real loan player is Tanto, who's been with us for nearly forever. So he's been with the club longer than some players actually signed for him. So he's ours, Millwall. But yeah, so
Yes.
some of the games that that we mentioned earlier was in that little spell. Walsall and Swindon, who obviously will think that we're awful teams. And was it Bristol Rovers in that time as well? I can't remember.
Yeah,
Just
Bristol
before.
Rovers away game. Yeah.
Yeah,
But both Bristol Rovers league games were in February, weren't they? So
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
they were 10 days for each other.
that's correct. Yes, sorry. But then we concentrated. Oh, sorry, it was Port Vale in that spell. I was thinking of. Sorry.
Yeah.
All of our focus became on that magical day at Wembley, where I arrived at Wembley at approximately 10 minutes past 10 in the morning. A little bit excited.
On the Friday, was that?
I was also asked to have like photos of like the fan zone to see if it's something that we might want to recreate. And so I went around to the fan zone. I went back and I went, you know what? If we recreated it step by step, just bench by bench, exactly the same, we'd be called fucking tin pot and shit.
We're already called that though.
Yeah, that's what everyone thinks of us. Yeah.
But it was just some barriers and some benches. And I'm like, if we did that, people go, that's awful. And we go, it's exactly
And some
the
very
same
long
as
queues.
yeah, very long queues. But how was not the match, but how was the general day for everyone? Is it still one of your favourite memories?
Yeah, it was great fun. I think I'm the newbie on here, and I think I've been following them Sutton for 5 or 6 years. So, and even for me, it was just an absolute bonkers day out. Just growing up in the area and seeing the team that you've grown up with, at least, to be at Wembley in that, and 15,000 there. You know, the whole town coming out. We started in the Spoons at 9:30, so I think I'll beat you there, Mike, in terms of start time. So, yeah, no, it was amazing.
7 a.m.
and going 1-0 up and then 2-1 up, because it was just proper limbs, wasn't it, as the youth say?
Yes.
Yeah.
It wasn't, because there's a picture of me. One of my work colleagues, of all the seats that we had, one of my work colleagues ended up in literally the row in front of me, just a couple of seats. And as we went 1-0 up, he took out his phone, took a picture of me, and there's a picture of me going like this. And it's just literally hands in my head going, what the fuck have we just done? Why are we doing this? And yeah, I mean, Claire, it
was an amazing day. I think I've said to you several times, I never ever imagined or dreamed about league football. It just wasn't on my wish list for Sutton. It wasn't something I ever thought that we would do. The one thing I always really, really wanted was to watch us play at Wembley. I'd never watched a football game at Wembley because I was like, I don't care. It's not Sutton. It doesn't matter to me. So, I mean, from that kind of penalty situation, that kind of build up for a couple of weeks is intense, absolutely intense. And then the day itself was, it had some bittersweet moments to it, which I won't go into, but it was amazing. And like to spend that with some really great friends, one of my brothers, to see my other brother like stood on the side of the pitch taking photos around, like absolutely insane. And the little picture of him in the dressing room with his like high vis hung up in with the players, like it's just an incredible day. I'm still not over it. Like, I'm still gutted because I just think we came so close. And those moments, like that first goal, my heart was in my mouth. Like, it was just unbelievable. This season has been unbelievable highs and unbelievable lows. And the lows aren't even that low. Like, they're just these kind of like moments. But like the highs have been insane. And it was that party afterwards as well. Like I said to Dan and a couple of us, it's like, this is what happens when we lose. Like, like there are people dancing on tables, chairs, and like we didn't win. Like, what the hell?
It was Dan leaving at sort of 1:30 and still going, this is busier than Saturdays.
It was rammed. It was ridiculous. Everyone was up singing. I forget which Oasis track it was. It was either Wonderwall or Don't Look Back in Anger, one of the two. Everyone was on the bloody tables singing that. And it was like 1:30. I was like, I'm done. I'm going home. So, but yeah, it was. I did actually say to Bruce on the night, I said, Christ, what would have been the place been like if you'd have actually won the game? You wouldn't have been able to play any games here because we'd have just trashed the place completely.
I'm pretty sure we'd all still be there.
Probably,
I know it's
yeah.
been a couple of months, but
It probably would all have just moved in for a couple of weeks and just drank the place entirely dry. But yeah, it was a mad day. It was like Claire. It was something I've always wanted. That was the one thing I was missing, having watched Sutton for so long, that I'd never seen us at Wembley. So yeah, to do that and cross that off the list was quite nice. But yeah, the way it ended up, I did say after I'd rather have got beat 2 or 3-0, to be honest, because just to be that close and just have it ripped away from you was just a little bit hard to take.
I know what you mean.
I'd rather have just been outclassed.
But then, do you not think that the run we went on afterwards, getting 5 from 7 and therefore finishing where we did finish, part of that must have been down to the fact that all the boys knew that they could compete at that level, and with a side who are now going up into the Championship, that must have been galvanising for them as a group, albeit completely heartbreaking on the day.
There were definitely points of that, and there was a couple of them that said it to us afterwards, like in the clubhouse. They were like, "It's fine, we're gonna get promoted now." And I think like there was that did spur them on, because you're right, like we held our own, and there were a couple of games like that this season. Like there's that, and then the trip to Cardiff really, really early on. Like we weren't outclassed. We played and we really, really held strong. And actually, like it comes back to that kind of what someone said earlier about that team. Like they've got such a bond. Like they genuinely, really, really all get on. So I really hope that we manage to kind of keep as many of them as possible. I know obviously a few people have already gone, but if we can keep that kind of core together for next season, then I think we're in a good position to keep pushing on.
Definitely. I mean, I don't know about you, but I still scream 7 minutes in the middle of the night sometimes. It was the whole day was crazy. Like I got a train from Swansea to Paddington, and then on the tube just ran full of Sutton fans. It's so you never expect. Then that we see the arch, we see our name on the arch, and then we go in, and it's just that was mad. And but I can see what Dan says. It would be like, it kind of would have been more of a relief if we had got paced that 2-3-0. But at the same time, coming so close was you couldn't afford the effort. You couldn't afford the effort of every player who played for us that day. The effort was, and the application was just amazing. Was the high? It's gutted that we lost, but I went out with my head held high because of how we played that day. Yes, it hurt coming so close to winning, but I'm not doing it. But we gave it a go. We didn't embarrass ourselves on national TV, and I've always wanted to see Sutton at Wembley. I'm still, even though I pretend it doesn't happen, the 18th of April 2000, when we lost to Kingston in the trophy semi-final, when we lost to Boreham Wood, those things that haunt me. But now I've got to see Sutton play at Wembley, and I'm a happy Jared now, regardless of the result.
I stood behind Jared, and it was good to see that he still had time for a few anti-Carl Shorten songs.
Yeah.
It's always time for Jared to do anti-Carl Shorten songs.
That's as close as Carl Shorten will get to Wembley, the song.
Mikel Miller deserved to be booed for being ex-Carl Shorten.
To be honest, there was a couple stood next to me who were calling him a scummer as well. So,
and Alex, have we heard? Tell us your thoughts of the day. I can't remember if I spoke to you.
I think Claire's right to highlight the build-up. Actually, the time is 2.5 weeks, was it, post-Wigan? And it just completely took over my life. I found myself, you said earlier, Claire, about just like in the middle of the day, just going and checking the league table. I just sort of just sit there at work or whatever. And I hope my employers aren't listening, because I was just like, we are going to Wembley. It's like, this just doesn't really make sense. I was taking a group of 54 of us, mates and from different groups and stuff. So obviously organising all of that took over the life a little bit as well. But it was just so exciting. And the night before was like Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, whatever you want to call it, just the anticipation and it's extraordinary in a word, if you're asking. It was amazing.
And who else was kept checking the seats at Wembley to see how many would sending out? What you
little dots?
See all the little dots disappear and all the new sections open.
I don't know how you organise like 50-odd tickets, Alex.
It was very stressful.
Gareth did ours, and then I volunteered to print them all out. So like the dining table was just covered in tickets, and I just stood there at one point like,
I know it was a full like seating plan and everything. It was hilarious.
But you all make a point. We the two teams from League One who've gone up as champions and runners up in 90 minutes over each game. We drew with them 1-1.
Yeah,
I know
and
one of them
completely on merit as well. You know, we weren't hanging on in either of those games. We were deserved. I thought we were better side over 90 minutes in both the Wigan game and the Wembley game.
Lots of their fans have said, "You guys have probably given us the best game that we've had all season. You wouldn't have struggled if we come up." But I'm also trying to cling on to the fact that since Rotherham can't defend the trophy because they've gone up a division, it technically has to come to us because we're the next highest place in the competition. So we're gonna be the holders for next season, technically.
We're the Southern champions of it.
Yeah,
on the 4 stage finalists, you know, we're the furthest Southern team that got in it, so we're the Southern champions. Back in the day, it was regionalised, so it was a North versus South in the final. So in my head, that's what happened, and we're the Southern champions.
It'll be interesting to see our approach in it next year, won't it? Whether we take it as serious next season.
Well,
I think we will. I mean, I had word with Bruce in the week before the game, just to kind of put in unfortunately, because of some circumstances, we're going to need to do this again. So we do it again next year, yeah? And he was okay with that, told me just to have a word with Matt. So Wembley's on for 2023, people. You heard it here first.
I think it helps that we take it, Matt takes it seriously, because a lot of clubs don't really get that interested until the later sort of couple of rounds. And just because of all the, a lot of the supporters aren't really that interested because of the way that it's structured and the competition, the way it's set out. So that's why you can go quite deep into a competition like we did before people start reacting. And because you've then got that momentum, you can do things like we did to get to the final. So I can see Matt taking it seriously again next year. Huh?
Before you start turning up to games, yeah?
Definitely won't do group games again this year. Sod that.
Some of us went to the semi-final and final. Proper glory hunt at some of us,
Don't worry, there's lots of people that only went to the final. The thing I wonder about that is, will other clubs now look at what we did and think, well, actually, you know what? If Sutton can do it, then why can't we take it seriously? Because some clubs won't be interested because they've already got way much more money than us anyway. So, but some smaller clubs might be like, actually, no, this is they're quite right. There's quite a lot of money at stake here. So I wonder, although we'll take it seriously, will other clubs then step up as well? And it'll be a little bit harder for us.
No one's going to copy us because they all think we're Timbot anyway. So they're not going to copy our approach.
They won't say they're going to copy us.
Yes.
The thing is, the money's always been invested. It's introduced B teams a few years back. They've always had this financial incentive to try and get more teams to take it seriously, and no one has. So, I can't see it changing next season just because we got to the final. And if other teams did take it seriously, I would fancy ourselves to beat any team on our day. Makes more.
Yeah, I can see us going quite deep in it again next year, to be honest. Just because, Matt will see it as it keeps the guys on the sort of fringe of your squad and stuff more involved as well. So yeah, I can see us at least bare minimum getting to the quarters and stuff next year.
It's only an extra 6 games, isn't it? It's not huge, is it? It's not if you're worrying about load on the players. It's not like a massive. No. It's not like a Europa League 17 game special, is it?
I think the only thing that will get in the way is if we have a run in, say, the FA Cup or maybe the League Cup. If we actually get a couple of games into that, maybe. But apart from that, I think Matt
would be a nice problem to have. I think if we're having deep runs in all the cup competitions and going for playoffs again, I'd be all right with dealing with that.
Yeah. So no, these are the kind of problems you want to have. You want. Oh no, it's like you can't. Yeah.
But then moving from Wembley, we then had another, as you mentioned, a run of games where we suddenly did really, really well. I think 3 games straight after we won them back to back. Then we faced a revitalised Barrow for some reason. That they were just playing magnificently against everyone for a little while. And then we had it was always going to happen. A disaster against Bradford. If it had happened in August, no one would have batted an eyelid. But because it happened at the exact wrong moment for us. It just felt a little bit sort of worse than it really was. Who wants to say that?
Well, after Wembley, at the just to bring it back to the party again briefly, because I will never stop talking about that party. Lots of the players and Matt said to a few of us who were there, they probably said this to loads of people, but 5 from 7 was the target. 5 wins from 7, and that'll get you in. And I think I'm right in saying that no team in League Two's ever got 76 points and not finished in the playoffs, which is that is nuts. Like, it's so unlucky of all the seasons to do that. So, they hit the target. And yes, the Bradford game was a shame, as you said, Mike, with the timing of it in the season. But to get 5 from 7 is the target they set themselves, and they did it. I just think they just got very unlucky. And looking at the last day of the season, one of the top 2 sides winning would have done it, and neither of them managed to win. Thanks very much, Forest Green Exeter. I mean, their cards are marked for the future now.
Yeah. Worst title race ever, that.
Yeah. You see Northampton complaining about about Scunthorpe being on a weak inside against Bristol Rovers, costing them promotion. I think you should play about Port Vale and Forest Green, and that's Exeter City and Forest Green not taking the title race seriously. Cost us a player place,
In fairness, seeing Scunthorpe through the season, that they couldn't have played a weakened side. Even if they just racked up 11 supporters from the stands, they couldn't have played a weakened side.
To be honest, Bristol Rovers, even before this, we knew what side, the people saw what side they played. Everyone was looking at game going, well, Bristol Rovers are going to score 5 there easy.
Yeah.
And then it's how quick they get that 5.
Yeah.
It was always a danger. So, I mean,
I had to listen. Northampton going 3-0 up so quickly was just crazy. The second half switch, it was amazing.
Yeah, I had to spend all that Saturday night in Leeds listening to Nick talk about match fixing and God knows what else on that. So it was quite funny.
Oh, man.
It was like, mate, they're always going to get stuffed.
Yeah.
They've been shit all season. So it was.
Is he proper on one?
He was until I told him sharp.
Well, I mean, him on a rant is not what you need after that.
Especially after a day on the beer.
Oh.
It was quite funny.
But as Jared alluded to earlier, we don't do very good in playoffs anyway. So actually, it don't matter. We don't care. We didn't really want the
playoffs, cup finals. We lost. I think we've of the 7 playoff games we've played, we have drawn 2, lost 5. We've also lost our last 5 cup finals, by the way. So playoffs, cup finals just don't do well in. It would have been nice though to get to the playoffs, to have that thing, 76 points is amazing. So
and I know it didn't actually matter whether we finished 1st or 24th. It's also the highest league finish in our entire history for the 2nd year in a row. So something to aim for next season, Matt. Who's now
third time in 4 years actually as well.
Yeah.
And the highest crowd in there as well, isn't it? The Bradford tipped over 4,000, and that was with a reduced away fans. So that was it'll be fun next year.
And wasn't Bradford away the biggest crowd we played in front of in a league game ever? 15,000 at Bradford.
1963.
Yeah,
Frankie was saying afterwards.
Yeah. So it's bad. I think since Dodds took over in 2008, there's only been 4 seasons where we haven't done better the next season than we had the previous season. So I'm optimistic for next season. I'm going to put it out there.
You heard it here first.
Are you going straight automatic, Jared, or playoffs?
Champions by Christmas.
Title.
Champions by Christmas.
No, it's just the consolidation, obviously, void second season syndrome. But I think if we retain them, obviously we've seen 3 players released just this week, and there's possibility of some more contractors who are up who may not be staying up. Good bit of recruitment, couple of extra points next season, playoffs. I see it as part of an onward journey rather than the end of a journey.
Oh, yeah.
He's been at work since 5 a.m. everyone, so he's a bit tired and emotional.
Delirious.
Clearly delirious, yes.
I think you're right, though, about the upward trajectory. And also, I think that's reflected, just a word for the club in general, in terms of what we're doing to the ground and the community feel, including Wembley and the academy and the women's team as well. Have had amazing seasons. And it's a really exciting time to be a fan of Sutton United in general, I think.
definitely.
Yeah.
I love seeing what the academy team are doing on a weekly basis. It's great to see some of the big clubs they're playing and they're beating. It's it's great for our future. And obviously, the women winning their league last week again. It's just a great time to be a Sutton fan, and long may it continue.
Mm. Yeah. And we've talked about finances, but we're going to have to rely on that academy funnel, aren't we? And actually, they've got a real chance to play league football. So it'd be good to see some of them coming through.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I couldn't remember the exact why I put it, but I looked up on one of my Facebook memories the other day, and there was just a little phrase of "lol, the Blazers are ruining this club." And it was from about 11 years ago. Because there was obviously some argument somewhere about what the Blazers were doing. I was like, man, I wish people could see into the future what those bastard Blazers have done to us. They made us into a league club.
Probably ditching the reserve side or something like that, mate.
Yeah, some bizarre little rant.
And compared, some of the podcasts you've done this season, Mike. I mean, half the teams that we've had on, and the podcasters moaning about what's been going on back office and how it's impacting front office, I think really highlighted how lucky we are.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm just going to quickly fly through some of the comments and just hear what you think about what people have been saying about their highlights of the season. So on Facebook, we had Paul Cawthorne saying it was one of his highlights has been 2-1 up in the 93rd minute at Wembley. Cheers, Paul.
Too soon.
Oh, too soon, yeah.
You led with that one, Mike.
When the club's Twitter account made a 7 minutes injury time joke the next week.
Oh, yeah.
No, that was too soon. Yeah.
Then we had Alan, who obviously starting with the season, everyone thinking we're not going to stand a chance, which we kind of said. Dino in the penalty shootout, yes. And then he's mentioned Wembley as well. Or the 96th minute he's mentioned. Adam, also on Facebook, his first game was going to the under-21s at the Papa John's. So at least someone was going to those games, eh? Thrashing Scunthorpe, and he didn't mention it, but also Carlisle. And then taking the games to the champions-elect. Paul, this was you. You're on here, so I might as well not read this out because you've actually mentioned all of these except for Crawley.
Crawley was my first away game with James. So, and it was the proper, get on the train, the ritual, go to the clubhouse, have a few drinks, get there. And it was absolutely rammed. I see they revised the number of how many were away, wasn't it? It was 750 of us, which they decided to keep in half the stand. And then, and everyone going absolutely bananas when Dean saved that penalty. Great stuff. It was a great day out. We were in full voice.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was a bigger cheer when Dino saved the penalty than when we actually scored, because none of us actually knew what happened when we scored. It was like, hey, is that actually gone in? Then we got Ricky, who mentioned the away days at Portsmouth and Wigan, the wins against Stevenage and the Port Vale, and taking 6 points from Crawley, which they very nicely set off that flare, I do think.
That was so funny, that flare. That's one of my highlights of the season, was a flare going at 0-3 down.
Yeah, who pops pyro at 3-0 down?
That was so far, I was comically laughing, yeah.
As we said, I bought it and my mum ain't going to let me keep it at home, so I'm using it. Then we had Andrew, who's been on the show before. We Sutton at Wembley, Wigan on penalties, Port Vale at home, Bennett's equaliser at Stevenage.
Yes,
late equaliser at Stevenage, sorry, and then Omar scoring our first ever Football League goal.
Bullet header. Brilliant goal.
Yeah.
Can I say something quickly about Stevenage away? I was trying to think. I thought you'd ask about highlights, Mike, and I was trying to think of the non-typical ones, so the non-Wembleys, the non-Port Vales, etc., etc. And I think it was the Stevenage away game where our wonderful goalkeeper Dino found himself playing as a right winger for a couple of minutes and then whipping the ball in. That was one of my highlights of the season. Things I never thought I'd see.
Yeah, we've all seen Mean Machine with the Vinnie Jones thing and Monk.
Oh, he is Monk.
Yeah, he just goes.
And we had this a fair few years back with was it Nichols we used to call Monk? Yeah. We were like, oh, he's a bit mental. But Dino takes it to a whole new level. Like he's just off on his own and he just does what he wants. But no one's going to tell him not to.
He beat two men and swung across him. He's the goalie.
We did dig him out in the bar about a week later, saying he needed to work on his delivery more from wide areas.
Yeah,
he needs to work on his shooting.
encouraging him. Cheers. No, I did hear he was a striker apparently when he was
Yeah.
Yeah, we started as a forward apparently.
Yeah, so I don't even remember where I heard that from, but other people have confirmed it, so clearly it's not something I've made up again. Then we had Gabriel on Twitter, was Wigan, Port Vale, Randall against Colchester.
Oh, that was great. That was good.
Harrogate in the EFL. I'm not sure which one that is. Penalties against Stevenage. Dino saving us twice, and he didn't know where to put Wembley because it was the best and the worst at the same time.
Harrogate was the quarter final, wasn't it? Eastmond 1-0.
Yeah, last minute goal, was it?
Yeah, that was good.
That goal, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I
what
missed
about
that
free
one.
pizza?
I had the vid on that one, so I couldn't go to that one.
I won 2 free tickets that game, but I tagged myself in as someone I was going to the game with. So yeah.
Everyone's favourite moments in the Papa John's,
Yeah.
but no one was there. This is like the Sex Pistols at the Under Club.
Then we got Mark Bravery, Dino saves at Wigan, Kobe's winner against Port Vale, Dave's goal at Newport, or second goal at Newport, Santo's goal at Tranmere.
Oh yeah.
And again, he mentions Richie's equaliser at Stevenage. And Andy said Wigan, Wembley, Port Vale at home, Mansfield away, and Cardiff.
Cardiff was special.
The Easter double was amazing, actually, post Wembley to obviously both days being bank holidays, just glorious sunshine and 2 wins against playoff contenders. That was fantastic.
Yeah, that was brilliant. At that moment, you completely believed. So we're like, we are going to do this. Because again, a lot of focus was on the 1 point from the playoffs, but actually we're 4 points from automatics, which is just insane. And Jared, I know you're here, but you've got Wigan, Dean's second penalty save, and the Scenes. Port Vale at home, Mansfield away, Donovan's goal at Cardiff.
A great goal.
As a resident of the city of Swansea, it was nice to see Sutton go 1-0 at Cardiff, especially as also supported the Welsh national team. To see Sutton playing score at the goal at where Wales play was almost as great as watching that at Wembley, really, for me. But no, going 1-0 against those Bluebird bastards was great. Swim away, lads, swim away.
And then I can't actually work out who this is. I think it's her name's Isabel, but NIJ on Instagram, but I couldn't actually work out the actual name. Was the double over Crawley, beating Wimbledon, winning against Port Vale, beating Wigan away, and Wembley. There is one more comment on Instagram, which I'll tell you, but I also didn't get any comments on TikTok because I put the video on there and I'd set it to private. So clearly I'm doing that fucking brilliantly.
This is why I aren't meant to be on TikTok.
Mastering that social media, Mike. Mastering
amazing.
it.
Down to the kids, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. But there was one other comment, which is why you can't trust what people say. Cole or One his highlight of the season was having a brew and a gas with me. So clearly he's a liar.
Well, what's supposed to speak to you, Mike? What are you talking about?
Yeah, I know. He did. I feel I took this whole miserable solitude a bit too far because he did apologise at one point for his dad chatting to me. And I was like, no, your dad is not the kind of person I moan about. I don't like the people who come down and go, this isn't like West Ham, is it? No, it's not.
To be fair, one of my highlights actually on the Wembley day was seeing you on Wembley Way and just the general excitement between the pair of us. Like I ran up to Mike and was like, Mike! But it was how much I annoyed Josh because I was like, it's the podcast guy! It's like I'm just doing it to wind people up now.
I need to get you to record that, and I can add that into the title as well.
I was going to say, Mike, it must have been, from a podcast perspective, there have been some proper highlights for you this season with Dundo post Wembley, and also speaking to Bruce and Matt beforehand as well. It's amazing.
Matt, I was a bit scared, to be fair. Not. I just didn't know because I know Matt is quite professional in what he does, and he sort of has standards and. As we discovered from the opening 5 minutes of this, I'll be like, yeah, whatever. I don't care. I make shit up. But yeah, no, it was absolutely brilliant. Bruce is always good. Always makes time. But yeah, I know it was for me doing it was quite selfish and personal, but actually one of my highlights is the way they made time for this my little hobby and went, yeah, fine, just give us a time and we'll be there. Really? Are you sure? This isn't like BBC or nothing.
Not yet. Not yet.
No, not yet.
It sums the club up, like, though, isn't it? That they're quite happy to go on an unofficial podcast and shoot the breeze. I think it's sums the club up, doesn't it?
A lot of other people that do podcasts, because there's a few like have a little group together and on Twitter, and they're like, "Sorry, your chairman just comes on. What made that happen?" Well, I messaged him and I asked him, and he said yes.
I went up to him in the bar. I said, "Hello, Bruce. Would you like to come on the podcast?"
Yes. And how did you get the manager? Well, the chairman said basically he wasn't my secretary and to ring that myself. And here's his number.
That's definitely a Bruce line. That's a Bruce Elliott line.
It wasn't those exact words because it wasn't an email, but that was clearly the thought process of, yes, here's Matt's number. You contact him. Okay, Bruce, understood. but yeah, no, it was really good. And I wasn't sure about restarting it, but I'm really glad I did. And doing it, the video is actually a lot easier and a lot better. So I hope it comes across, and we'll try and do it for next season. I've got a new flag for this.
We've seen the budget's gone up, Mike. We've seen the budget's gone up. Yeah.
Production values and everything next.
Yeah. No, I've got a new flag. Yeah. Wait till you see it before you start talking about the production values. It's not going to travel. It's just going to stay there. But yeah, I don't know, Dan. I know we've spoken a lot, but did you have a list of highlights, or is it just a haze?
A lot of it's already been mentioned. I mean, I don't think the Cardiff game gets talked about as much as it probably should. I think it's because it was so early in the season. I thought we were fucking brilliant that night.
Yes,
we were so good. I mean, that was actually the main thing that made me feel a little bit sad when they said that Kenny had been released, because he was absolutely unplayable that evening. He was everywhere. And I mean, basically they created they created 2 chances and scored 3 because one went through Dino's hands. And yeah, we were superb that night. The Pompey game away was a bit weird, being in that massive stadium tucked in that little bunker in the corner. That was quite cool, especially with both the goals at our end. Apart from that, most of the stuff's kind of been mentioned already. Sort of beating Port Vale was a brilliant game. The Wigan away, those penalties, and also just the night out afterwards. What else? Actually, the Oldham game was a bit of a highlight for me because I've got so many family connections to that part of the world and to that club. So walking in there into what used to be the home end, the Chatterton Road stand, and sort of going up these the old terrace steps that are still there from before they redid it, and sort of standing there, and it was being there with Sutton was really bizarre as well, but a bit bittersweet. So, and obviously Wembley was good, but the party afterwards as well. It's that's properly up there with Wimbledon away, FA Cup stuff. That will live long in the memory. Just that place was rocking. So when we all came back from Wembley, we thought, I hope it's not dead. I hope there's loads of people. And we walked round the corner, you could hear the music, and there was just hundreds of people outside because there wasn't really that much room inside. And it was just rammed to the gills. Everyone was just getting beered up, having a great time. And just as we got back, the team had arrived as well, and that was it. They brought the house down when they came in. And I think that also just really helped the evening and the atmosphere of the place. But yeah, I think that's basically my list. It's much the same as anyone else's, really.
Well, I don't normally go back to the club for things like that, but I thought, you know what, I want to make sure there's some people there. Just make sure there's going to be some people there just to creep them back, because they need that. So I got there, and literally about 5 minutes later, as you say, the team arrived in. And what was quite funny is, I think it was Harry that came in first, and he was really somber, going, "Oh yeah, thanks." And then I can't remember who came in afterwards, and again it was quite somber. And then by the time the third or the fourth, they realised the reaction they were getting, and then Dean walked in with 2 cans of cider, going, "Way!" It's like, oh, this is the evening. And then, of course, Dundo said the magic words. But hey, you won't have to go on about them because you will hear them every time I do this. And it is a favourite thing that I managed to message him and go, "Please, can you just send me a voice recording because it's going to annoy so many people?" And he did. So, but Alex, I didn't do your highlights? I know you've spoken at
Very-
some of them, but
Very similar. Yeah, very similar. I just wanted to pick up on what Dan said and have a moment for Kelly Davis, you know, in the week, hearing the news and him and Ricky and others have gone. But his free kick this season, I can't remember who it was against.
Forest Green.
Who was it?
Green.
There you go. Thanks, I knew one of you would get it. Yeah, that was a great moment. And what a servant he's been for the club.
yeah, we're going to come on very quickly.
I'm jumping ahead.
No, it's fine. That's absolutely fine. That's fine.
Yeah, Bennett's header at Stevenage, Randall Colchester was good. You know, just making a freezing cold Tuesday night worth it with a comeback win. 3-2 is always fun. And yeah, look, the others have been mentioned, but buzzing for next season. And someone just mentioned Wimbledon. Very excited for a couple of derbies against Wimbledon next season.
Yeah,
good.
I hate them.
We'll get 6 points of them and then we'll laugh again.
Claire, go on. What was yours?
I think, to be fair, most of it's been mentioned. I just think there's been pinch me moments kind of off the pitch. Cardiff was the first big one, kind of pulling up to that stadium and like, because Paul gets a parking space everywhere we go for being the photographer. We kind of drove into this like car park and I'm like, we're playing here? Like, what the hell? And it's just those moments of like, you walk in, you're like, okay, cool. Like things are kind of changing. And I had a very similar moment when we got to Colchester on that Tuesday night. Like I went to uni in Colchester. So it was a bit of like a kind of going back, as it were. And then like just walking in and be like, we're playing places like this. It's absolutely insane. But yeah, like, I mean, everything kind of on the pitch has been mentioned. What Dan said about Oldham, as he walked, what he fails to mention is he walked up those steps and he walked towards me and he just went, I don't like it.
Very weird. That was a very odd evening.
Surreal. And I think like
Very strange evening.
it's been an incredible season to share with people. Like we've had some really great kind of weekenders and some wonderful trips places, and it's just been it's been really special. And I had this kind of feeling at the beginning of the year, it was a bit like, you know, one season in League Two, cool, whatever kind of thing. But it doesn't feel like that at the end of it. It doesn't feel like we couldn't hold our own and stay here for quite some time. And I think Paul said it, like we're so lucky to be involved in this club. It's such a great time for stuff that's going on. So it's just, I think the whole season has been a highlight, really.
Absolutely amazing. Paul and Jared, I know I read yours out, but did you have any more? Or
I had a go. There's a couple, I guess. Well, one was Orient away, which is an unusual one to pull out because we lost 4-1, but I got a lot of family connections that way, and it was a big day out. And that first 20 minutes, our end was absolutely rocking. And when that first goal went in, the roar was just fantastic. We'll gloss over the rest of it, but it was a good day out with the rest of the family as well. Anyway, and they were stood in the Orient end about 100 yards away or 50 yards away from us. So that was quite a fun day out. I think just the buzz, I say we've been seeing. Me and James was saying I've been going 5 or 6 years now, and I think we're. Just that buzz of going to the game on the Saturday with the way that the team was playing, and we can say hello to a few people now, and it's just that whole ritual of the day out, which he, as now he's 15, really appreciates that whole Saturday buzz. And I guess the only one I was going to highlight was he's quite a good mimic, and one of my highlights was that so we were stood on the curver. There's someone who likes to shout about the referee a lot. I'll mention no names, but
mate.
No idea.
But he could do quite a good impression of him. And so he did an impression of him and shouting at the referee to such an extent that the people at the front turned round and said, "What's his name? Well, shut up. What are you talking about?" And they were looking at him, not James, my son. And it was us. We were roaring. It was so funny. But it's silly things like that. There's loads of things that you can pull up and it was just great fun.
And Jared, was there more for you? Or?
Well, there's the aforementioned Cardiff game. As a it's Cardiff City Stadium is after Gallagher days. They have seen the most football hats, which has some happy memories there. So to see something there was surreal. Salford away getting our first point in the Football League was a nice moment. I think it's a bit underrated. I think Dan mentioned it earlier, where we could have lit to put all 3 points there. It was a good performance. It was also our first point in the league, and just see how it was going to be okay. I thought we were going to be okay at that point. And also, on a personal level, just going to a couple of games with my dad's. My dad's that was my first Sutton game like years ago. He doesn't really go out. He doesn't like football too much anyway. But going to my dad to Forest Green for our first game in Football League and to Wembley, something we always wanted to do together, was nice. And seeing a couple old school friends at Sutton games I haven't seen for like decades, who've just started to watch Sutton now because we're doing well. That was just nice to, on a personal level, just to connect with my dad and then to connect with some old schoolmates I haven't seen for years. That was nice.
I'll echo that as well. Going with I should have mentioned that in my highlights. Yeah, family generally throughout the season has been really good, and also just kind of bit like you, Paul. I've been going for a few years now, but this is the season I've kind of really got into it off the field as well. Like coming on this a couple of times, and I must confess, Dan, I hadn't read the Gandemonian blogs before this season, and now I do not miss one. They are amazing. That's been a highlight for me to get into those. Honestly, I am buzzing.
20 years worth on there for you to go through this summer.
Yeah, honestly, that is off-season reading sorted. But no, genuinely, mate, like they are always absolutely hilarious, win, lose or draw. So yeah,
they're not all hilarious.
Some of them are hilarious, apart from the ones that you wrote.
Yeah,
some of the writers are a bit dodgy, but
Yeah. Some of the early Papa John's ones are really fucking crap.
I think it's funny when you
get to the blog this season was a highlight. Thanks, Dad.
Sorry, Jared. Go on.
Go ahead, Claire. Sorry.
One of you.
It's been hard work because I've been bloody slugging around on my own because Tots decided to retire and move to the South Coast, and Tom's bloody got a kid and got married. And obviously, because of his job, he can't do midweekers. So yeah, it's just been like the busiest season we've had in ages. And it's like, oh, it's just me then. All right, cool. Thanks.
Yeah. No. So
that's why I stopped doing it in the first place.
Yeah, exactly.
Mate, please don't stop. They are honestly a highlight of my Monday, or whenever they come out. They are so funny.
It's a highlight for you. It fills some of us with absolute fear. When we went to one of our early weekenders away, which was just absolutely ridiculous, and the things that Dan could have put in the blog, and the thing I always say to him as he's getting off the training car short, I'm like, my dad reads the blog. My dad reads the blog. My dad reads the blog. And I scroll, like it goes up, and I scroll through, and I'm like, Loftus. Oh, okay, that's fine. I can deal with that. So just get really worried.
The fear I can instill in a pub, just sat there. When someone says something dumb or idiotic or does something stupid, you pull the phone out just to make a note. Don't you make a note of that? Yeah, I won't. Oh, don't worry. I'll make a note of that. Don't worry about that.
I imagine for some it's like a nice entertainment. For others, it's like piecing together the evening.
Dreading.
Hang on, what happened?
Oh God, what happened yesterday? Yeah. Oh well.
For me, some of the highlights are obviously all the games it mentioned, but there's other little things like and I'm going to say I don't care how sad it is. Is Dundo's face when he came on against Stevenage, and your brother got the picture of his little face just giving it, yes, I'm on. I was like, that is a brilliant photo and a wonderful moment. And what made it for me is it wasn't I'll go on Dundo, have a few minutes. It was we are hanging on here and we are struggling. We need someone to hold the ball up. On you get, fella. And he did his job brilliantly. I also really enjoy, and I know it's sad, and I don't mean this as a criticism, but Dave beating 4 or 5 players, running around beating them again, and then effing up the cross. It's everyone around going, go on. Oh, I find it so funny. I think it's brilliant.
You're a cruel man. Like.
I just think it's great.
Sadists.
But obviously, other highlights, and the Wembley's going to live long in the memory. But it's just been, as you all said, a great season, great to share it. And yes, I did have reservations about being around so many people because I'm not very peoply, but hey, it's great. And then Rosie getting into the women's team, which was just literally on the whim of, she's driving mum nuts. Let me go. They're at home. Come on, let's go. And Jazz waved at her in the corner, and then that's it. Are they playing at home? Are they playing at home? Any football on telly? Is that the girls? No, it's the boys. Oh, not interested.
She practically has walked her way into the team now, isn't she? She's just like on the pitch, off she goes.
Yeah, just are you walking us out? Yes, I am. No, honey, you're not doing it every single time. You were aware. Yes, I am.
She absolutely is.
Yeah, but yeah, all those little things are great. But we do sort of very quickly going to have a thought about as you mentioned, some of the players that have left us. any thoughts on any sign? I know we haven't made any signings, but nice rumours. Come on. The other one was Omar just coming on and killing people within a couple of seconds. I love that as well. That's brilliant. But the three players left us for the moment, although people keep saying that other players are out of contract, but there's been no noise about that. So I'm presuming we've got them still. But Kenny's left us after many, many seasons. Brilliant for us over the years and sort of accepted his sort of dropping down the pecking order, but never had a sulk on him or that we know of, but never seemed to have the sulk on him, and just done it for us every time he's come on. So any thoughts on Kenny? I know, Alex, you mentioned him, especially that free kick. Anything else to say about Kenny?
I think it's as we got through the season, people were saying, who do you reckon will stay and go? And Kenny's name did come up a few times as well. If anyone's of the current squad, Kenny's name was mentioned a lot, not because anyone thought he wasn't up to it or anything like that. It's like, well, the lad's 33. And I think he himself didn't expect to get a deal for this season. Matt's told the story about, Kenny basically burst into tears when he told him he'd given him, he wanted him for another season. Because he just thought, well, I've won the league, I've got my winner's medal. So that's me, that's my pinnacle.
I think before that bit is I think he went into Matt kind of going, oh, yeah, I know the routine, I'll find another club. And Matt was like, no, here's the contract.
Yeah. So, I think with Kenny, it's just the fact that he is 33 and maybe Matt wants to go a younger way. But yeah, he's going to be missed. He's that little sort of, he's one of those players that's actually, people look at him and just see this shaven-headed sort of pit bull. But he's actually, he can play a pass, as he's showed 2 or 3 times this year. I mean, going back to the title-winning season, that ball out from the back to set Tanto up for the third one. Nice. So he's got quality. He wasn't quite as box-to-box a midfielder for us as he was for Boreham Wood. Yeah, he'll be missed. He'll definitely be missed because he's just there through one of those players we brought in to give us that little bit more steel, and I think he epitomises the side and the way that we play that Matt likes. So yeah, he's definitely going to be missed.
David and I were particularly put out because on the way home from Harrogate last weekend, we rewrote the words to that hideous song to Kenny Davis Has Got a Massive Cab. With some really good verses, which was spot on. Because
and then he buggers off.
And that song, and I know that he doesn't like it either. But he will be missing really great moments. Yeah, really great moments.
Yeah, he's a good lad. I hope he carries on playing. Even obviously he's going to drop down a bit, but I hope he carries on playing. Stuart didn't stay with us for very long. Our first ever transfer window signing. Obviously no money, but he was there when Dino got injured.
Yeah,
and he came on and for those games, and he did as well as can be expected. To be fair, so wish him well. There's not a lot we can say about him because we don't actually really know him that well, do we? And then Ricky, who is 100% going to come back and absolutely rip us apart, because he's always showed glimpses and then he suddenly got that little injury and he never got the run of games. But I mean, does anyone else agree or disagree with me about Ricky?
It never quite worked for him, did it? He was one of the signings I was quite excited about, and then he got COVID and he got injured straight off the back of that. So the first 2-3 months of the season were pretty much a write-off for him. And then when you have that, trying to get yourself fit enough to get back into the side, especially with the way we were playing as well in the run up to Christmas. We had that long unbeaten run, so it's really hard to get minutes, and his only opportunities were in the Pizza Cup. So yeah, it's a bit of a shame. I don't think we ever quite saw the best of him. And when he got his first full 90 at Walsall, he just didn't really get into the game. He was much better the following game against Oldham, but yeah, it never really just worked for him here. Nice lad, and he seems to get on well with everybody, but it's just sometimes it happens in football, I guess.
Just a quick one about him. I remember early in the season when he came on as a sub, I can't remember which home game it was, and one of the guys I was with, his season ticket holder as well, he said, "Oh, who's that?" And I said, "It's Ricky Corboa," and he thought I said Rocky Balboa. So he misled me, and you can imagine the jokes that led to throughout the season. So that was a personal highlight in relation to Ricky.
But this is what I was saying about you guys have basically done it with the retained lists. I've never really noticed them before because I don't pay that much attention. But seeing all these different clubs put on the retained list, and some of them were just like brutal. Like the players leaving us is Dan, Paul, Alex, Jared, Claire. And that was it. And I'm like, oh my God. And then ours was, the comments underneath them, oh, good, he's shit, he's rubbish, I hope he never plays football again, and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, you can't say that. And then ours was done the right way. It was, these are the 3 players leaving us. We had a little bit about each one of them. Even Stuart, as I say, he's only been with us a couple of months. And then literally everyone wishing them well. I hope they do well. I hope they get another club. It's just, as we said about Ricky, never quite worked out for him. So I was just really glad about that because I was just shocked about some of the way some of these fans talk about their own players. It's mental. Go on.
We're just a nasty fan base, so are we? Let's face it. We're a nice bunch of people, and someone like Kenny Davis, you can't fault that guy's commitment. What he's done for Sutton United Football Club in the last 5-6 years he's been here. Ricky Gilbert, when he's played, he's done well for the most part. Even shooting out. So we're a nice bunch of people, and I think that reflected on how we saw these 3 people off, and hopefully they all do well and just don't come back to haunt us. I
think we've done that over the years. There aren't many players who've left us and we thought, yeah, good riddance. And
one I can think of, Louis Gonzalez, wasn't it?
Yeah, Lewis was a bit more
just complicated.
Yeah, it was a complex situation. I think Alan Julian's probably the last one, the goalkeeper. But apart from that, we don't tend to do that. We don't tend to slag players off when they leave. If they leave for genuine reasons, either it didn't work or they get a better offer, it's like, oh,
yeah,
that's the way it goes. But a lot of other fan bases, players. Yeah, I suppose maybe that's it as well. People look at it. It gives a perception of a club that isn't followed by dickheads and people who are just unnecessarily nasty. Well, all right, I'll withdraw that dickhead statement.
Nice dickheads.
With
it. There's no malice, shall we say? Is probably the best. There's a lack of malice. So it's it's all right, mate. It didn't work for you. Fair play. Good luck to you. There's none of that. Oh God, he was the worst player ever to wear our shirt and all the rest of it. Or what a joke he was. So it's we're not that way inclined. Maybe it's that twee little non-league club thing again. I don't know. But yeah,
it might be because we've seen some of the worst players to wear our shirt. So no player will ever come close to some of them.
Yeah, we have levels. So compare a benchmark, and then if you're above that, if you're above Cameron Abassi, was the defender? Played like 40 minutes. And you just put them in. Was he better than him? Yeah. Fine, off you go, mate. have a great life. Enjoy yourself. You weren't terrible.
So it's a bit early for signings, but you see, we were linked with a few players already, which is just like, again, that's really weird to see us linked with various different players. And did you see Jonah's on a free?
Okay, no.
We'll take the silence on that one.
he said, I think unfortunately there was a striker's curse at Gallagher Green Lane, and he was one of those who suffered it.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, we've had it over the years. We've signed players who are knocking in goals for absolute fun, and they come to us and they just stop all of a sudden. But it's also leads us on to you saw the stats this week. Obviously, they came out. We've had 3 of our players on 8 goals, but no one in double figures. But the highlights, go on, Dan.
What was it? Lowest possession percentage in the league and lowest passes completed score in the league.
And Omar, some of that, tackler, wasn't it? Omar, our top tackler.
Yeah, Omar, our centre forward as the top tackler. Brilliant.
But we were the 4th highest scorer.
4th highest scorer in the league.
Yeah. Efficient.
Was it 16 goals across like 16 players this season?
Yeah.
I might start having conversations with AB about renaming strikers a key for next season, and maybe just go for like midfielders or defenders a key, something slightly different.
Joe Kizzy is key.
Just start calling it. You'll do.
Yeah.
We scored, yay! Scores from open goals. That was it. Open play. Goals from open play. But yeah, no. As I said at the time, there'll be some clubs that are very upset by this. The clubs who pass the ball around in their own penalty area while we're all sitting there going, "Why are you doing that?" But we're not proud. We don't care. We score. We win. We'd all be quite happy to have scored 46 goals next year and concede none because we've just won every game. But we'll wrap it up there because I've kept you guys for way longer than I intended. I've just seen how long. I'm really sorry.
Not like we're doing anything else, Mike. Come on, no football. Saturday.
Yeah. Well, there's a cup final, but two teams.
I'm not watching that poxy game.
No one cares.
Yeah.
I genuinely.
Wembley, been there, done that.
Exactly.
Someone had mentioned the cup final was on, and I suddenly panicked, going, "Oh God! I told these guys to be on at 3:00. What time's it on?" And I was like, "Oh right, it's not even on at 3:00. Okay, fair enough."
It's like 5:30 or something. It's like
4:45, which is such a weird kickoff time.
Yeah.
4:45.
More interested in the playoff game. The playoff games this evening, isn't it?
League Two.
First League Two's tonight.
Cancelled.
So again?
So playoffs. Don't care. The playoffs aren't happening as far as I'm concerned. We're not in it.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
In denial.
Yeah, denial.
It don't matter.
Over in Egypt. It's how
We'll let you know the scores, mate. Don't worry.
But yeah, thank you very much for your time. It's been great. It's been nice to think about some of the highlights of the season. We'll have a little bit off. I've got some other interviews lined up, which I'll release over the summer. I'm hopefully going to get Dave on, who has finished on the board. He thinks he's got no more official roles at the club. he's going to have a list of jobs just as long, but never mind. And I've got Matt to promise as well, so we'll get him on as well. But yeah, thank you guys for your time. Thanks everyone for listening. As always, hit me up for the socials. Oh, hit me up! Oh my god!
Oh, what a way to finish the season.
Wow.
Too much time on TikTok, that mate.
Oh dear.
You're down with the kids, Mike.
Yeah,
you're down with the kids, mate.
I'm just checking to make sure my daughter's not going to beat the crap out of me now. Thanks a lot, guys, and thanks everything for the season, for all my guests, for you guys today,
Pleasure.
And for all the others you've been on. And I will hassle you with the email. I will contact you with the emails fairly soon for next year. So change your email address or add me to the blockers. Thanks for listening, everyone. Take care.
Cheers, Mike.
Cheers, Mike. See you guys.
Cheers, Mike.
Right.
United!